children before, so I hope I don't come across to you all like I'm treating you like children, okay? Quite often I'll do this with as an activity with children, or to make something to gift to somebody. So I haven't got a lot to show you, and I have to be truthful, I didn't make this. This was actually something that was gifted to me. This is just a demonstration of something that's been made out of felt. It's a purse, and I have taken my money out. But this is a felted ball as well, and often these are made for things like necklaces and accessories. So I'll pass them round so you can have a little look. This is a sheep. Now this is actually dry felted, and I'm going to demonstrate wet felting. The difference is this is sort of wet, lots of soapy water and using your hand, whereas dry felting is using a needle, and it's a needle a bit like when you get fishing hooks where they've got the little spike that goes the other way. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it's called, but these needles have got those spike, so that as you jab the felt, as you jab the wool, it sort of felts it with this sort of needle. So I'll pass that round as well. Start on showing you what equipment I've got. I've just put this blanket down so that I don't get everywhere wet. So hopefully this is going to soak up some water for us. I've seen it being done before in large sort of metal trays. And obviously that will help if you were doing it in your own home, you didn't want water getting everywhere. But otherwise a towel or a blanket or something like that will soak it up. And I've just put down a piece of bubble wrap, again just so that it sort of stops the water getting everywhere. And then this is my wool. And if you try to prise it off by tugging it, it's actually quite strong and it won't pull away. So you have to be really gentle and sort of tease it out and prise it apart, like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to lay it down. So I'm just going to make a sheet of felt, and that can be sort of trimmed around the edges at the end. I can drop some lavender oil on it and put it as a draw line or something like that. So you can do something really simple as a gift if you wanted to make gifts. If you had your own sheep and you wanted to use wool from a sheep at home, supposedly most wool will felt, but there's different types, obviously different types of sheep with different fleece, and different fleeces take different length of time to felt for the felting process, and this is merino wool. You might like to have a little feel of the merino. It's a big chunk for you. It smells quite nice as well. I quite like the smell of wool. I think it's an interesting smell. Now as I put this down, I should have told you really, I've not left gaps between. I've tried to overlap the bits so that it will felt together, otherwise you'll end up with gaps and things. And then I'm going to place over this a piece of netting. I'll pop that down over the top. And then I've got here some warm to hot water, and I've just left the soap in it to make it very soapy water. And it's recommended, something like an olive oil soap is apparently best for felting. And I'm just going to quite generously spread it all over the wool. Make sure it's wet enough. I can be very generous with this. It's got to be wet enough. And you can. I have known of, actually, it was a beautiful, beautiful wedding dress that was felted. And it had lots of other things like pearl beads and things that were embroidered onto it. So I think that you can make items, maybe like a waistcoat or something like that. But really it's for accessories and things like that. Now I'm just going over it lightly. I'm trying not to move it so that it'll start felting without moving the actual wool underneath. And I can rub the soap over the netting lightly, because we want it as foamy as possible. The foamier the better, because it'll start to felt for us. I have known of people to felt just by rubbing with their hands, but to speed up the process, another way of recycling plastic bag is you can use it to help the friction over the top. And I'll start lightly and I'll begin to use more pressure. And it is quite a time-consuming activity. You can do this for absolutely hours until it's fully felted. I shan't have time today to fully felt something, but I'll be able to do it enough for you to see how it has sort of bound together and how it has started to work. So while I'm doing this, let me just see my notes. Let's tell you what else I could tell you. What have we been through? Oh yes, I was talking about the balls of felt that you can make to make necklaces and things. You can make those by wet felting. It can be quite tricky to make sure it's completely round without kinks and things in it. You have to be quite careful with the way you felt it. Or you can dry felt those as well. And then obviously you just sort of thread them through, and they make, if you use different coloured wool, they make absolutely beautiful necklaces. And you can make brooches. I've seen some nice flower brooches, and I've seen flowers made out of felt that then have been sewn on to other items. They can make some nice sort of things to embroider with. I've also known of sheets of felt that have then been used for patchwork. You can make quilts and throws, and I've even seen sort of like rugs, not sort of hard wearing rugs, but just gentle rugs or pillowcases.
How do you know when it's finished? If you're saying you're not going to finish it tomorrow.
Right, well you can feel it, because really you wanted to get it as firm and as strong as possible. And you can feel it when you hold it. And it will actually shrink, even by up to 50% at the start size. So obviously if you were making an item of clothing, that can be difficult to get the right size. You've got to work out the size of something you want. Like if you were making a handbag, you might want to make a medium-sized handbag. You might start off with something that looked quite large, and it would then shrink by up to 50%. And let's see what else I've put on here. Types of wool. Obviously I've gone through a bit. This is merino wool. And obviously there's Wensleydale, Tardy, I don't know how some of these are pronounced. Blueface, Leicester, Thin Sheep, Jacob. They're all ones that have been mentioned that can be, well apparently you should be able to felt with all, but like I say, it can take longer for certain types, and that merino is the best option. Just a bit, I'll go this way. Now, I can feel it's not even half felted. You can see it's not shrunk. But I've just done this as a demonstration. And what I tend to do, and I quickly do this in time, is some people will use a bamboo blind, but I'm just going to use a rolling pin. Actually, I will do it this way. And I'll roll it up in a rolling pin. This just helps to continue the felting. And it just sort of varies it a little bit, so you're not stuck there rubbing away. You can do some rolling as well. And this does help to continue the felting. And as I said, I've used a rolling pin, but some bamboo blinds, because you've obviously got the gaps between, and you've got more friction with a bamboo blind than just a round rolling pin. I shan't go over the top because obviously I haven't got too much time to, but you get the idea anyway. And I shall just rinse it out. So then I'll try and get as much water out as I can so that you can hand it round without getting too wet. Okay, but as I say, you could go on for a number of hours to really feel it firm up, because this you could probably pull it apart again. You could firm it up so that you could tug it just like when you tug that, and it wouldn't come apart and it would shrink. And obviously if you're making a sheet, you could then trim that round, square it off, a few bits of lavender oil or whatever oil, and that would make quite a nice draw line if you're just going to do something simple.